Hi all, meet with me again, Ngestirosa, in Introductions of Prose, and today's subject we'd like to discuss plot elements. And this is the third meeting of Introductions of Prose topics. And there are two objectives that we like to discuss in this topic. The first one is to clarify the plot sequence, and the second one to give example of plot sequence. But first of all, what is plot? Plot is the logical interactions of the various thematic elements of a text, which leads to a change of the original situation as presented at the outset of the narrative. And all fiction work follow the same plot sequence. And in the stories, actually, stories have a way of capturing our emotion and taking us on a journey. But have you ever wondered what makes a story flow so seamlessly? Let's dive into the plot sequence, the structure that brings a story to life. And in order to analyze literature, you should become familiar with the plot sequence and what ingredients go into each step. And the first step that we see in the plot sequence, the first one is exposition. The second one is rising action, and the third one is climax, and the fourth one is falling action, and the last is resolutions. And the first one, what is exposition? Exposition is the very beginning of the story. This is where the audience introduced to the key elements of the narrative. We meet the main characters, discover who they are, what they want, and what drives them. We also learn about the setting, the time and place where the story unfolds, which help us understand the world they live in. Additionally, the exposition provides a glimpse into the central conflict or problem that the character will face, whether it is a hero dreaming of adventure or a family dealing with secret, or a community may be threatened by an outside force. And this stage actually set the tone and built the groundwork for everything that follows. Without a strong exposition, the audience might feel disconnected from the story. Well, the next one, the example of exposition we can see easily from the short story The Necklace by Guy Maupassant. At the beginning of the story, essentially nothing happens. The narrator is interested in telling us about Matilde. We learn about her backstory, her character, her unhappiness with her mediocre life. And this represents a classic initial situation. This is great if you read the story actually. Well, the next one, after the exposition, we will see rising action. In the story, when the story starts to gain a momentum and the stakes become higher. And this is the section where the central conflict introduced in the exposition. And it began to unfold, and the main characters face challenges, obstacles, and dilemmas that push the story forward. And in the rising section is essential because it develops the plot and builds tension, keeping the audience engaged and invested. Each event in this stage actually adds layers and suspense, intrigue, or emotional depth. For example, a hero might face smaller battles or unexpected setbacks. A mystery might grow more complex, or relationship between characters might become strained. And in the rising action actually also tests the protagonist's abilities, values, and motivation, allowing the audience to see their growth or struggle. As the tension continues to escalate, it sets the stage for the story turning point, the climax, where the conflict reaches its peaks. And without a strong rising action, the story might feel flat or lack the anticipation needed to captivate the audience. And we'll take the example again from the necklace. In this story, the action proper began when Madame Loisel's, actually Mathilde's, comes home with the invitations to the fabulous ball, and Mathilde reacts by having a fit. And in this race problem, Mathilde now has the best opportunity she's ever had to have a test of high life. But she has nothing to wear. And that problem actually set the rest of the plot in motion. And after rising actions, we meet climax. The climax is the most intense and dramatic moment of the story. This is turning point where the main conflict reaches its peaks, and everything that has been building up in the racing actions comes to head. It is the moment where the protagonists face their biggest challenge, makes a crucial decision, or confront their greatest fear. And in the climax is often a moment of great emotional intensity. It is the scene that keeps the audience on the edge of their seat, wondering what will happen next. Will the hero defeat the villain? Or will the mystery be solved? Will the character achieve their goal, or will they fail? And the moment not only determines the direction of story, but also reveals the true character of the protagonist. Their choice and action during the climax often show how much they have grown or what they're willing to sacrifice. And it's the payoff for all tension and suspense. And the example of the climax in the necklace. When in the middle of the story, the necklace is missing. Mathilde's discovery is the most exciting and dramatic moment in the story. It's also the turning point in the plot. Before the story was built up to Mathilde one glorious night, which the rich and famous. And there is now transition into a desperate search. So this is the climax of the nice story, The Necklace by Guy Maupassant. And we like to go for the next one is falling action. After the climax, we move to the falling action, where the intensity of the story begins with the decrease, and the narrative starts to wind down. This phase provides a sense of relief for the audience as the major conflict has been resolved, or at least significantly addressed during the climax. When the tension eases, the focus shifts toward the aftermath of the turning point. And in the following action, we see the consequence of the protagonist's choice and action during the climax. How have the event changed the characters, their relationship, or their world? This phase often involves revolving smaller subplot and clarifying misunderstanding or answering lingering questions that remain unanswered earlier in the story. And involving action, for example, if the climax was a hero defeating a villain, the following action might show what happened to the hero and their allies afterward. Celebration, reconciliation, or maybe reflection. If it is a romantic story, this is where the character might reconcile after this climatic moment of the conflict. And it makes the following action is essential because what? It provides a smooth transition to the resolution. It ties up loose ends, ensuring that the audience feels satisfied and prepared for the story conclusion. Without this stage, the story may feel abrupt or incomplete. This is that makes following actions very essential. And the example from the necklace, you can see after the loss of the necklace experienced by Matilde and her husband, they keep in constant suspense. They focus on a search for the necklace. It turns paying for it takes quite a toll on them. Their lives are ruined for 10 years. Well, this is the nice falling action in the necklace story. I thought that you need to read this short story. And the last one, finally, we arrive at the resolution, the last stage of the plot sequence. It is where the story concludes that all remaining loose ends are tied up. This is the point where the narrative reaches a sense of closure, giving the audience a chance to reflect on the journey they have experienced. And in the resolution, the main conflict is fully resolved, whether it ends in success, failure, or something in between. We see how the characters have been affected by the event of the story, how they have grown, what they have learned, or maybe how they have changed. The resolution often answers lingering questions, such as what happened to the protagonist after the main event, or how their world has shifted due to the story outcome. Additionally, in resolution, the stage provides emotional satisfaction for the audience. In a happy ending, for example, it might show characters finding peace, love, or fulfillment. In tragic ending, it could explore the consequences of failure or loss. And in open-ended stories, the resolution might leave some question unanswered, encouraging the audience to think or imagine what comes next. And the resolution also serves as natural stopping point for the narrative. It gives the audience a moment to breathe after the intensity of the climax and following action, and leaving them with a sense of completion. Whether the story ends with triumph, tragedy, or a mix of both, the resolution is crucial for providing a meaningful and lasting impression. And I'd like to give you an example, the necklace story and the resolution of the non-human. When the Matilde finally meet Madame Foresters as the owner of the necklace and the charm Alice's, it looks like we see that this is about the last loose end in the story. The main action is over, and Madame Loisel have finally finished paying off their debt for the necklace. And all that remains is for Matilde to see whether her friend ever noticed the substitute necklace and tell her the sad story of the whole affair. The necklace actually is fake. So this is the nice resolution of the necklace. Well, the conclusion of this topic that fiction stories actually always follow the predictable pattern of a plot. The first exposition that focus on character, setting, and conflict. And the rising action actually continue conflict and then continue to worsen. And the climax actually, the character attacks conflict because of even or because of decision. And in the following action actually result of the climax. And finally, in the last, problem is resolved and story end in a resolution. Well, I think that's all for this explanation of plot in introduction of prose. Thank you. See you next time.